A woman reported her son to the police for having sex with an underage teenager, a jury has heard. The evidence from a senior detective came on the day jurors visited a police cell where the Crown says the 17-year-old was unlawfully held. Now, the detective in charge of the police's child protection unit described the case as unusual as he gave evidence at the trial of his two colleagues, Inspector Hurimoana Dennis and Sergeant Vaughan Perry. Mr Dennis and Mr Perry have denied charges of kidnapping a teenager in what's been described as a mock arrest. Our Auckland Court reporter Edward Gay filed this report.
Detective Sergeant Neil Hilton told the High Court in Auckland he took part in a meeting with the teenager's family and senior police officers, including Inspector Dennis.
I made it pretty clear that I didn't think that it was the best outcome to their situation.
How did you make that known?
I talked about previous incidents previous prosecutions that I'd undertaken where we had prosecuted people for underage sex. In this particular case, the age gap was significantly greater, was 20-odd years, and even that had caused huge amounts of breakup within the family unit.
Mr Hilton said at the end of the meeting the family agreed charging the 17-year-old with rape was not the answer, but they did want to break the relationship up. He was asked by the Crown Prosecutor Brian Dickey what his view was.
I was reluctant to go down that path. It would have been difficult, would have been quite intrusive, and I didn't see, given the age difference between the two of them, that there was a great deal of public interest in pursuing the matter aggressively at that point.
The group also discussed the possibility of Mr Hilton meeting with the teenager.
I give him a bit of a rev up, for lack of a better word, and that as part of that would be showing him the cells to give him a concept of where he could be heading.
Child, Youth and Family were called in to talk to the 15-year-old girl who denied there was a sexual relationship. Eventually, Mr Hilton met with the 17-year-old who also told them there was no sex and he would reconnect with his family. He believed the young man was about to make changes in his life, including moving out of his girlfriend's house. The detective sent a positive update to Inspector Dennis and his mother, but it was not to be. The teenager's mother was still unhappy with her son's relationship and his living arrangement. She also tried to lay a complaint against the 15-year-old girl's mother, asking police to arrest her and stop her son from staying at her house.
There were a lot of other issues going on between these two families, of which this was a tool to try and obtain some traction by one of those families.
The detective arranged to meet with the young man again, but when the teenager didn't turn up on time, he had to leave for his next appointment. He arranged for Inspector Dennis to meet the teenager, who arranged for a meeting with his grandfather at the police station. The Crown's case is Inspector Dennis went much further. He faked an arrest of the young man, introducing him to the custody sergeant. He was made to believe that he had been arrested and his details entered into the police system before being taken to a cell. Today, the jurors visited those cells in the Auckland Central Police Station. They've since been decommissioned, but until recently, prisoners were led through a number of security doors, including old cast-iron gates. Signs alert officers that firearms and tasers are not permitted in the area, and security cameras watch every movement. The teenager was put in cell number 8, roughly 3 by 3 metres. There was nothing to sit on and no toilet, just a tile floor and the 4 walls. Mo te hōtaka o te ahi ko Edward Gay ahau.